Hello there, and welcome to LearnBytes, the show that delivers bite-sized pieces of wisdom so you can learn how to increase your efficiency and productivity, embrace your natural creativity, and lead with impact. I'm Samantha Garrett from Using Technology Better, and today on the show we have an interview with Natalie Lo. She's an ANZ Google Workspace Specialist at Google Australia. So this is a really cool interview with Natalie, and we're going to be discussing efficiency and productivity, and she's got some really cool tips, particularly on how to use your calendar. So let's jump in now and take a look. Hey Nat, thanks for joining me. So good to have you here.
Hi Sam, thanks for having me as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. So before we sort of jump straight into the interview, I thought you might like to spend just a couple of minutes telling us a little bit about yourself and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Natalie, and I'm part of the Google Workspace team here in ANZ, looking after corporate and some enterprise customers. I've been at Google now for almost 3 years, working in the Google Workspace team my whole time. So you could call me a little bit of a fan of Google Workspace. I love my Gmail, Docs, calendar. But yeah, other than that, I am currently working from home full time. So that's been a bit of a change. And yeah, really looking forward to the Christmas break.
Yes. And as I say, we should probably tell everyone. So we're filming this right at the end of 2020 before we go off on our breaks, but you'll be watching it in 2021, which is quite crazy to think about because we've had so much change just now. It's like, who knows what the world's going to be like when people are watching us. So as you know, the show is all about bite-sized pieces of wisdom. So that's why we use the timer, 4 minutes, 8 questions. It's like a rapid fire round. And you're today, of course, talking on efficiency and productivity. So are you ready if I hit go on that timer and we get started?
Yeah, 100%. Hit me with it.
All right, now let me just get the timer ready. All right, let's go. First mobile phone and current phone.
So first mobile phone was a Samsung SGH A127 back in 2017. And my current phone is a Google Pixel 4.
I love that you know the whole model number. That's so great.
Yeah.
What does working efficiently and productively mean to you?
Yeah, so working efficiently and productively, that to me means getting through tasks that are high impact, meaningful, but it's also about being strong enough to say no, and strong enough to say, hey, like these activities aren't priorities, so I'm going to do them later.
When and where do you work best?
Definitely a morning person, if you haven't realized. So I tend to start my day at about 7:30, and I tend to work best definitely in a quiet environment as well. So currently, I don't know if you can notice, but I'm actually not in any room. I'm just in a quiet environment in my living room.
It always looks lovely, your background, when we have calls when you're at home. So it looks very peaceful and calm, which probably helps. Yeah. Favorite app for efficiency or productivity?
Yeah, Google Calendar, I must say, whether that's because I'm in the workspace team, but it is definitely probably my favorite app, just in terms of helping drive my productivity. And that's because majority of my day is spent honestly in calls and meetings. So I rely extremely heavily on it. And not only that, the mobile app works extremely well. So if I'm out on the road, I can dial in. If I'm on a walk, I can join a meet call. It's just great. And secondly, Google Docs is probably my next best friend, just because I'm sort of a tick off the list type of person. So it's great for that. Yeah, keeping on top of tasks.
Biggest efficiency or productivity challenge, Nat?
This would definitely be saying no, particularly as we're working from home. What I've found myself doing is saying yes to so many things and saying yes to meetings. So a lot of the times I'm just in back-to-backs, and it's not actually until the end of the day that I can sit down and do proper work, Sam. So what I've realized is it's so easy to say yes and to take on extra tasks, but by the end of the day, I find myself with a longer to-do list in my Google Docs. So that's definitely been a challenge, but hey, like I said, I'm starting to learn to say no. And instead of doing maybe 10 extra things mediocre, what I've started doing is choosing 5 and doing them really well. Yeah.
The number one thing then that you've done that's impacted your efficiency or productivity?
Getting outside, just getting outdoors in between meetings, in between sort of early, just any time that I've got free, if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, getting outside and just getting fresh air has really helped me. Coming back, just feeling a lot more focused, and it's really great for obviously mental health, and well-being. Yeah.
That's great. So we've got 45 seconds. The book, video, or podcast that you'd recommend to others, Nat?
Essentialism by Greg McKeown. That's my favorite. It's really taught me how to say no in a nice way as well. And my second book that I really, really like is Ikigai. And that's just based on the Japanese sort of philosophy of how people live a meaningful and happy life.
If you could save an hour each day and spend it doing something you love or you're passionate about, what would you choose to do with it?
100% baking. I really enjoy baking, but I never have enough time for it. And just learning how to cook. I think I find it quite therapeutic when I'm in my rhythm. So definitely that's how I'd spend it.
Oh, that's a great. I love that. And look at that. The time is just going off. Oh, hang on. If I just figure out how to stop it. Using technology better. I know that. Do you know, I think you're like only the second guest that's come bang in on the 4 minutes, which is efficiency and productivity. I love it when those topics match up.
Thanks so much, Sam.
That's okay. That was so awesome. So thank you. A couple of things I was just going to jump back to I thought were really interesting. So fascinating how you said around calendar. And the reason I say that is some of the viewers might remember, I think it was about episode 5, we interviewed Swan Yo from Google as well. And you might kind of think, oh yeah, of course the Google is going to say Google Calendar, but Swan and I had this really good conversation about why calendar is so important. And like I said that as well. And I've been working actually with some of my colleagues around just using calendar as an efficiency and productivity tool. No matter what calendar you use, it's irrelevant, but that idea of planning out your day, I think is so important.
Yeah, 100%. I think what I've started doing is putting in DNS, so do not schedule in my calendar. And I'm really clear. I keep my calendar open, and at Google we've got an open calendar policy, so it's everyone can see, right? I put in there do not schedule if I've got lunch, or do not schedule if I'm doing emails. It's also a great tool just to assign. So in our team specifically, I work with my customer engineer quite closely. And sometimes if you've just got tasks or projects that you need to do together, it's nice to block out that time and say, hey, reminder, we got to work on this. And it's a great way for just managing daily life as well, like got errands to run. Setting reminders is a great one as well. And you get an alarm, so that's always great.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I was just thinking, I love that idea of DNS because we've literally been talking about that as a team in the last week and going, well, you know, if you are going to lunch or you've got an appointment or whatever privately, put it in your calendar. And people are kind of, well, what do I put? And purely like, I love that DNS is so quick and simple. And then I guess it becomes a little bit of lingo too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think just another tip on that is a lot of people have now started adopting not only DNS, but if they're actually out on the road, they'll say, can take meetings, but calls only. So phone me instead of setting up a Google Meet.
Yeah. That's another great tip. Oh, thanks. So good.
No worries.
Thing I just really love that idea of instead of doing 10 things sort of mediocre, choose 5 and do them well. I mean, that's just that kind of idea. And I guess when you schedule stuff in your calendar, you can get an idea of how much time you have and how much you can fit into that.
Absolutely. And I think it goes across the board. Everyone that I speak to is kind of feeling the same way. They're finding that, yes, we're working from home, but we're working longer hours. There's more tasks. And it's like, what's actually changed here? Like nothing's really changed. We've moved to remote working. Technically, we should have a little bit more time. But I think it's also this case of, instead of ticking off 20 things or 10 things, I've started just prioritizing and saying, okay, at the beginning of each day, I'm going to select 5 things that I want to do really, really well, submit those and just get through it, right? And then at the end of the day, you're finding that it's actually generating higher impact as well when you do them well. So that's just what's kind of worked for me. It may be different for other people in different roles as well.
And that links though to what you said right back at the start of the interview when we were talking about the definition for you of like productivity and efficiency. You mentioned then that high impact, like working on that task. So I guess that kind of all loops back in.
Absolutely. How about yourself, Sam?
Sorry?
How about yourself? Like, how do you manage your day-to-day?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So very much like you in terms of the calendar, like I live by my calendar. For me, it's I kind of like have a master task list of everything that's going on, and I keep that digitally, and then each day I pick those things I'm going to focus on that day. And I do have them digitally, but for me, I also have them written down on a piece of paper because I like to have that piece of paper sitting next to me. So if ever I am getting unfocused or anything like that, it's literally right there. I can look and go, oh, that's what I'm meant to be working on. So yeah, and then things like that too then are scheduled as blocks of time in the calendar of what I'm going to do when. So, I was talking to someone about this recently and going, writing a task list is one thing, but if you don't have time to do the tasks, it's kind of irrelevant. So if you've blocked the time out in your calendar, then that's what you know.
100%.
Cool. Oh, well, I'm so excited to wrap up 2020 with this discussion and look forward to everyone hearing it in 2021. Perfect timing for sort of starting new organization and efficiency and kind of productivity stuff for the year. Yeah. So before we wrap up, Nat, if people want to connect with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
They can definitely find me on LinkedIn. So Natalie Lo. So you can search me and you'll see Google Workspace Specialist. Or otherwise, I'm happy for anyone to reach out to me over email as well. Which I can share those details, or Sam, happy for you to share those details too.
Yeah, not a problem. We'll pop them in their show notes along with your book recommendations. So that's wonderful. Beautiful, Nat. Well, thank you so much once again. And I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom. So we'll say goodbye now. See ya.
Sam, thanks for having me.
Most welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching that interview. I hope you enjoyed it. As you can see, Natalie and I nerded out a little bit about Google Calendar and calendars in general, but I really think that the tips that she shared and the discussion we had is so beneficial. Using your calendar well is something you can really do to enhance your productivity and your efficiency. So if you want any more tips around that, feel free to reach out to me. So that's it for the show today. But before you go, do make sure that if you are watching this on YouTube, that you have subscribed to the Using Technology Better YouTube channel. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, then you can follow the show there so that you'll be notified of all the latest episodes. And if you have not yet signed up for the little fortnightly newsletter that I send out with all tips about efficiency and productivity and organization, be sure to do that. The link is in the show notes below as well. So that is it for today, but I will see you again soon for another bite-sized piece of the learning adventure that is life. See you then.